Welcome to the Breaking News Bears podcast. I'm your host, Chris Capone, joined alongside my co-host once again, Evan Davis. And there is a lot of talk about things that have happened over the past week in baseball, including the return of Ronald Acuna Jr. hitting 2 home runs in his first 2 games back, the San Diego Padres falling into a major slump over the past week, the surging Philadelphia Phillies, and the Boston Red Sox finally calling up one of their talented prospects in Marcelo Meyer. But first, Evan, we got to talk about the San Diego Padres falling into a major slump over this past week. They lost six in a row, including two straight sweeps, and one to the Mariners, one to the Blue Jays. How do you make about this whole situation with the San Diego Padres right now?
Yeah, look, I think, every team goes through their ups and downs. The Dodgers are going through one right now as well. They went on a 5-game losing streak, which kind of allowed the Padres to still be in the division. Like they're only 3 games back, which is kind of crazy given um, how poor they've been playing as of late, but they were really hot to start the year, obviously. And it's just been a lot of inconsistency throughout the lineup. Obviously Fernando Tatis Jr. has really been struggling as of late, but like as I had said, everyone goes through these big slumps. But I mean, to lose 14-0 to the Blue Jays, I mean, no disrespect to your Blue Jays. I didn't even know that they could score 6 runs in a game, let alone 14 runs in a game. And I just think a lot of it has to do kind of just with the inconsistency of their pitching staff. While, Nick Pivetta has obviously been a phenomenal piece added to this team, and Dylan Cease has really picked things up as of late. It feels like it's like they're getting solid starts, but like some starts you look at it and like Dylan Cease is just having to push through, those 5 or 6 innings. And Michael King, he hasn't been great in this month of May, but I just think our expectations for him are so high and rightfully so. But he's not that dominant strikeout per nine guy this month, only 18 strikeouts in 17 innings pitched, but obviously back-to-back games with 8 Ks, but it's the earned runs, the home run in every start in the month of May that he's given up. And, a 3.71 ERA, while it is solid by most standards, it's not what you want your ace of your rotation to be doing. So, look, I just think they're going through one of those rough patches, but I mean, the only thing that's lucky enough for them is so is every other team in the NL West. Now, you could say the same thing for the other teams in the NL West that are going through their struggles and still holding a lead in the division. But, the Padres currently third in the NL West, but only 3 games back. It kind of sucks that, like, for them at least, that they're having these struggles when other teams are struggling as well, where they would like to get those wins and try to find ways to move up in the division.
Yeah, and like you said, the offense has been a real struggle for them. I think that over the 3 games that they faced against the Mariners, they had scored 3 runs, and then the first 2 games against the Jays series, they got shut out. And then they scored six in the game that went to extra innings against the Jays, and then they won 2-1 against the Braves, and then they only scored 1 run yesterday. Like the offense has been really going through a dry spell. Like they've been really struggling. Um, it's just one of the it's like you said, it's those lulls in the season that these teams have most of the time, and it just sucks that it's happening right now as you said, as all the other teams are struggling. You'd hope to go through your lull, or I guess you would rather hope your lull happen when other teams are struggling, but you'd also like to capitalize on this and win the games while the other teams are struggling, trying to get it back up in the division. But as long as everyone else is struggling, it's not as bad where you're losing every day a game in the standings where you know the Padres lose and then the Dodgers, Giants, and Diamondbacks all win and they all go up a game. So at least you'd rather have it right now while these other teams aren't playing at their best either. But it's May. We're not even in the dog days of the season yet when it gets to July and August, where it's like, post All-Star break or even right before the All-Star break, right when teams start to slow down and really need that week off to, get re-energized. But the pitching staff, like as you said, has still been a big question mark with the Padres right now. I mean, the bullpen is the bullpen. Like they're gonna do great things. Robert Suarez, Jason Adams, Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morejon. Um, the one guy who's been kind of getting lit up recently is Alec Jacob, who was looking really good and then gave up the 6 runs to the Jays, and then I think yesterday gave up another 4 runs to Atlanta. But everyone else in that pen is absolutely lights out. They have one of the best bullpens in baseball. But it's just, it's the lulls of the season that continue to happen.
Yeah, and like to your point, like Alec Jacob, the first handful of games in the season, I honestly, March and April, he was basically, untouchable. But this month, you look at it, a 16.2 ERA. He's given up at least one earned run in all but three of his appearances, which kind of crazy because you saw like how dominant he was last year. But again, like he's only 26 years old. Like, yeah, I just, look at this rotation in general, and I just think, what's Dylan Cease really gonna be like? Because he hasn't been that great to start the year.
Yeah, and I mean, with Dylan Cease, you have, the big question about his free agency coming up. He only has 1 year uh left on his deal. He's got to still, uh he's going to be due for a contract this off season, and a lot of teams are going to be looking at him. But Dylan Cease is one of those guys where his last year with Chicago, he wasn't that like a 4.5 ERA, and then last year or his first year in San Diego looked really solid. But you never know what you're really going to get with Dylan Cease. There's the Cy Young runner-up year, and then there's the year after that where it's like, okay, well, he's not really doing as good, but he's always going to be a strikeout guy. Um, and it's just like, what are you really going to get with Dylan Cease? It's like, it always seems like it's an off year, on year kind of a thing,
Mhm.
but like the talent is still obviously there.
Yeah, and I think with, when you look at Dylan Cease and you even look at his numbers this year, just with his pitches and everything, his four seam always felt like it was his bread and butter pitch, but like that's the pitch that is killing him the most. And his sinker, while he doesn't throw it a ton of times, I mean that pitch is getting killed as well. And that's a pitch that he really shouldn't be throwing. But even the one interesting pitch when I was looking at his baseball savant page earlier was like his knuckle curve, which is usually it's a filthy pitch. And look, metrics are metrics, but like opponents are batting 200 against it, but the expected batting average is 338. It's just like
Yeah.
getting a little bit lucky with that pitch, and he's throwing it a lot. And look, I usually don't look at expected batting average unless it's like a glaring number, but like for a 200 and then an expected of 338 with an expected slug of 617, I mean, that is a pitch that players are hitting the living daylights out of. It's just right into the glove of a player.
Yeah, into the glove of a fielder instantly off the bat. Like it's sharp, being sharply hit, but just right to people. And
Mhm.
eventually, people are going to be out of position where, or it's just going to be hit at such a slightly different angle where is the extra bases or just base hits. But moving on, we're going to talk about the return of Ronald Acuna Jr., who in his first at bat, his first pitch he saw coming back from ACL surgery last year in the major leagues, he hits a 467-foot bomb. I mean, absolutely crushed off the bat of Nick Pivetta, the guy who has been the best pitcher for the San Diego Padres. And like I said, the Padres still won that game 2-1, but absolutely crushed. And then yesterday, following it up with another blast. It's just so much more fun seeing Ronald Acuna Jr. actually playing Major League Baseball. And, these past 2 days have been electric. Just seeing him on the base paths, having fun again. It's something great to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Nick Pivetta felt bad for Ronald Acuna Jr., and that's why he served up a 94 fastball right down center stage Broadway. I mean, that couldn't have been a worse pitch I've seen thrown. Like, I'm surprised Ronald Acuna Jr. didn't hit it 567 feet.
Yeah.
Like, insane.
Yeah.
You look at like Ronald Acuna Jr., his outs are even 100 plus miles. Like he is hitting the lights out of the ball. It's like a 104 mile an hour ground out or 111 mile an hour single off the bat. I mean, he is tattooing the baseball right now. And if he's back to that Ronald Acuna MVP form, this Braves team, the way that they're trending right now, and I mean, the last time we talked about the Braves, we were dogging on them, and rightfully so, because at that time, I think their best hitter was Marcell Ozuna with like a 250 batting average. And now you see Matt Olson starting to pick up the pace with his home runs. He's starting to look like his old self. I mean, if the Braves are even just a fraction of what they were in 2023, this is a team that can be very dangerous in a division that is going to be, I mean, you talk about the NL East and the NL West. It is, and to a lesser extent, I mean, the NL East and the NL West are just going to be going to be six teams that are just going to be beating the living crap out of each other for the next handful of months. And, I don't think we'll see an NL wild card race as competitive as the one that we're going to see this coming season. Like towards the end of last year, the Diamondbacks really tailed off. It wasn't as competitive. But I mean, you're talking about what the Dodgers, Padres, Diamondbacks, Mets, Phillies, and Braves, and the fact that one of those teams hypothetically is not going to be making the playoffs is just crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about the Braves is that teams let them hang around being 500, and that's kind of what they needed with everyone starting to get healthy again. I mean, Spencer Strider came back. He didn't look good in his return start against the Nationals, but letting these guys come back, letting these guys, uh, hang around 500, that's all they needed to be by the time Acuna got back, Spencer Strider got back. Now they have real bolstered depth added to their lineup where, they were playing guys that were glorified AAA players for most of the time. They still have Alex Verdugo hitting leadoff for them. I mean, there's the talent that they're now adding back to their roster with Ronald Acuna Jr., with Spencer Strider. It's just such a glow up for them. You lose Jurickson Profar at the beginning of the season because he took goddamn horse tranquilizers or whatever. Um, and now, you needed someone in that lineup to help stopgap and really push this team to the edge. And now you're getting back your MVP pretty much. And uh, getting Spencer Strider back isn't too bad either. He's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball when he's healthy. He hasn't been healthy the past 2 years.
Mhm.
Um, and now, we're kind of getting to that point where the Braves can really start making a push. Um, and then you obviously have the Phillies and the Mets doing their thing, and we'll talk about the Phillies later. And then you talk about the NL West, where there's three teams there really vying for postseason eligibility. And then even the Diamondbacks aren't too far off either. They're 500 right now, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of good teams in the NL that are going to be vying for that final wild card spot, or those three wild card spots. And it's a real, it's going to be cinema down the stretch. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, I think the one thing with the Braves though is like they got to be better on the road. They are an atrocious
Yeah.
team on the road. I think they have like one of the worst road records in the National League, maybe even all of baseball. I think they're what, like 9-18, something like that. Like some, yeah, they're 9-18 on the road, but they're 16-8 at home. So look, you're obviously not going to win every single game on the road, but if you want to be in a competitive team, especially in the National League, you got to be at least 500 or maybe like a game or two below 500 during the season on the road. So that's just the one thing that they're going to have to, figure out and kind of pick up. And you look at them too, just like the amount of talent that they have, that young talent, like Drake Baldwin, who struggled obviously right out of the gate, but he's been really, really good. And like the battery with him and Sean Murphy has been solid. And then AJ Smith-Shawver, I know he got absolutely killed in his start against the Washington Nationals. And although, his baseball savant page isn't like anything crazy, like he's not, the strikeout to walk rate isn't going to be sustainable over a long stretch of time. And we definitely saw that in his start against the Nationals. And his splits on the home and the road are pretty meh, but he's only 22 years old and he'll figure it out. And he's had some really solid moments in the major leagues, but he's got the 3.67 ERA, but an expected ERA of 5.62, an expected batting average of 3.01. I just wonder with time, do the Braves send him down now or send him down at least within the next couple of weeks? Because his numbers are suggesting that he's getting a lot luckier than what is presented on the actual stats. And it's just the walk rate's really high. The strikeout rate is really low. He's kind of just lucking out with double plays and ground balls, kind of similar to what Reynaldo Lopez was doing last year. So I just wonder with Smith-Shawver being 22 years old, maybe giving him some more time in AAA with Strider coming back and Grant Holmes finding himself as a great starting pitcher. I just wonder what the Braves do with that because they can't afford a project piece, especially in such a competitive league.
Yeah, and I mean, we could just talk about their division rival right now, the Philadelphia Phillies, and how they've been playing amazing baseball recently. They've been just finding a way to scratch out some of these wins. Yesterday, an extra innings game that went to the 11th inning against the Athletics, they win 9-6. They looked really good there. They won 4-3 the day before that. They've just been finding ways to win. And I mean, you talk about the talent on this lineup. They have been playing, their last couple series that they've been playing against, that they've been on this huge win streak, has been against bad teams. They've swept the Phillies, swept the Pirates, swept the Rockies, and now they won two in a row against the Athletics. But these are the teams that you need to beat. If you want to be a top team in baseball, you need to win these games. You can't just, be like, oh, well, it's a 4 game series against Colorado. We can afford to lose one. No, you got to pounce on their neck and you got to assert your dominance. You got to win these games. If you want to win the division, you can't just afford to lose these games because these are the ones that'll come back down to you at the end of the season. You'll be like, how did we lose a game to the Rockies in May? Like they were garbage back then. Uh, like you can't afford to lose these games. And you know, playing another game against today against the Phillies, right before they start a series against the Braves, like this is an important momentum series for them. If they can win today and just predicting it, if they beat the Athletics today, going into that Brave series, they'll have won. How many straight is this? That'll be
And
10 straight. That'll be 10 straight going into a series against your division rival. I mean, that would be huge for them just to not only separate themselves in the division between the Mets, but also going into that series against the Braves. You're going to have some huge momentum going in there. And that's at home. You have a 6 game homestand coming up against the Braves and the Brewers. I mean, the Brewers are very beatable right now. They've been hot and cold. They've been super streaky. And Jackson Churio, I have him on fantasy. I would know this. He'll go one. He's been in a super huge slump recently. So these are the teams that Philadelphia needs to beat. They just need to win these games, and they've been doing it. And it's something that they just need to keep doing, keep pouncing on the next. But the talent at the top of their lineup, the talent in their rotation, they just look like one of the best teams in baseball right now. And they are.
yeah. And to your point about like, well, you got to beat these teams. Yeah, like when the Dodgers got swept at home by the Angels, I'm like, oh my God. But then again, like the Angels went on an 8 game winning streak. But you look at it and like that, when they traded for Jesus Luzardo, I was like, God damn it. Like that's a pitcher that I really wanted the Dodgers to go after because although he had injuries, like you're seeing it, he's a phenomenal pitcher. He's 5
Yeah.
and 0. He's got a 1.95 ERA and 67 strikeouts as a lefty. I mean, he's been killing it on the mound for the Phillies, and he's been everything they could have asked for and more. And you think about, and then Ranger Suarez is coming back, and Aaron Nola. I had him on fantasy. I had to drop him. I'm just like he's been awful. So if you look at it, like as the rotation is presently constructed, is it crazy to suggest that Aaron Nola is not in the starting rotation in the postseason? I don't think that's a far stretch, just given Wheeler and Luzardo are definitely going to be your game one, game two starters. You'll figure out game three. Maybe it's Christopher Sanchez, maybe it's Ranger Suarez, depending on the team that you're playing. But we've obviously also seen this success, and you see, like you talk about the 9 game winning streak. Well, Kyle Schwarber has been hitting the living piss out of the baseball lately. He's got 18 home runs. He's on pace for 56. Trey Turner, he kind of had a mid-year last year. Expectations are always high for him, especially given the contract, but he's been really good as of late. And my only thing is like the Phillies were phenomenal last year. They looked great. They had beaten a lot of great teams. They'd won a lot of series during the regular season. But ever since going to the World Series in 2022, it's been lost in the NLCS. Now they've lost in the division series. Like they're not trending in the right direction come postseason time. So as I always used to say with the Dodgers, like, well, dang, it's joking around. It doesn't matter because October they're going to crumble. Well, the Phillies, we just got to see what this team's going to be like in October because we've seen like how many times have we seen Schwarber hit 40 home runs or Bryce Harper come back from it to MVP form and it just doesn't mean anything for this team. So I do really like this pitching. I think this is more sustainable than Christopher Sanchez, who kind of boiled out towards the end of last season, and Ranger Suarez, who definitely wasn't himself. It was very evident that he was injured, and sure enough, he was. So I'm just curious to see also how they manage it, especially with Luzardo, because this is a guy who's experienced injuries. He's obviously never pitched in October, being he was with the Philly. I'm sorry, not he was with the Nationals early in his career, then Oakland, Miami. He hasn't pitched in meaningful October games and meaningful baseball. Curious to see how they manage his workload down the stretch. Do they do only 5 innings? Couple, don't extend him even if he really can be extended. Is there a pitch count? Just wondering how they handle things because we've seen a lot of success in the regular season. Now we got to see it back up again in the postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at the Phillies as one of the top teams in the league. Like we look at them, and one important loss for them is Jose Alvarado is now out for the postseason when they eventually get there. That's going to be a really huge loss for them because of, like that's your closer. Jordan Romano hasn't been consistent at all for them. And you're kind of in this situation now where you're like, damn it, like what do we do come
They got to
postseason
trade.
time? You got to look for a reliever on the market and who's really going to be available. You don't know what teams are going to be available or like really thinking that they should be selling. There will always be teams looking to sell. Maybe you make a call for Mason Miller. I mean, you've seen him in Philly or you've been playing against him these past two games. Maybe, you're like, he needs a change of scenery bad.
Mhm.
Like he hasn't looked good at all these last couple outings for Oakland or for the Athletics. And maybe you're like, maybe we could take a flyer out on him before we have to sign him to an extension. But yeah, losing Jose Alvarado is going to be huge for Philly coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I had said this like when we did our trade bait last episode, or maybe a few episodes ago, but call the Rockies and ask for Jake Bird, a right-handed reliever who he's always been so consistent. And this year he's been phenomenal. A 1.74 ERA, 38 strikeouts in 31 innings. Opponents are batting just 200 against him with a 578 OPS. I mean, he's got a couple arbitration years on him, but and again, like it's Colorado, so not a lot of high leverage situations that he's been in. And, how would he be in his first October? But why not take the chance? I mean, you have at this point, really, you have nothing to lose because are you really, as you said, can you really trust Romano? You obviously lost Jose Alvarado. Matt Strom has been decent. Orion Kerkering has been like up and down. He's either giving up a couple earned runs in an outing or he's lights out. You just never know. So if I'm the Phillies, you really got nothing to lose by calling the Rockies and saying, "What does it take to get Jake Bird?" I think he throws lights out. He has like 100-mile-an-hour fastball or sinker. It's like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but it moves and it moves fast. I wonder if they call the Rockies and ask for him.
Yeah, I mean it's a really it's a real question to have about what does the Phillies bullpen look by the time October rolls around? Because you lose your number one guy in the bullpen, and Jose Alvarado is one of those guys where it's like why like the decision to take these why are you taking a weight loss drug? I like is Bros on Ozempic in the middle of the season? Like I don't know what's
He's
going
not a
on
weight
there.
loss drug. He's just saying it's
I know. But I can't believe some of the excuses they give for for
it's
some of these
ridiculous.
things. But but yeah, it's just like why why would you risk compromise? I know maybe you really are this PED really is helping you, strike out guys, but why are you risking yourself being suspended when you're on such a good team right now and like it's your role to lose. Jordan Romano had this the closer's role and lost it because he was absolute buns. Now you have it and you risk it all. It's just it doesn't make sense. And like this Phillies bullpen is gonna look super different when it comes to the postseason time. Just because like what else do you really do? And the Phillies just have so many other questions where it comes to like they need some help also down in their lineup. They have a lot of guys in their lineup right now where it's like Nick Castellanos. Yeah, he's hitting 274. Like he's got a higher batting average than usual, but like still, he's not a good defender at all. And you have the issue where it comes to like it's just a lot of these guys in their lineup right now aren't really producing. You have Alec Boehm, who's hitting 269, 88 OPS plus. You have Johan Rojas, who's manning center field for them, who's strictly more defensive. And they need to make a trade also because I don't believe that there's many people or there's many teams out there that are like, well, once we get past like the five hole in their lineup, like we can look pretty good. Like the top four hitters in their lineup are obviously going to be the uh most fearful, but everyone else is human. Everyone
Mhm.
else is gettable to, strike out. Their strikeout rate is really high. They don't take many walks besides the two guys in Schwarber and Harper. So
Mhm.
it's just there's a huge question when it comes to the rest of their lineup. They need to fortify. Like, yes, they're winning games right now, but they're playing against bad competition. But these are the games they need to win. But the rest of their lineup isn't really looking that hot. Like,
Mhm.
there isn't really a guy out there that I'm like, besides Harper and Schwarber right now, where I'm like Trey Turner is hitting 310, but Bryson Stott is hitting leadoff for them most games. JT Realmuto is his offensive numbers have been on a strict decline over the past couple years. It's just what does this Philly team look like by the time we get to October? Because they're going to need to add a bat and now bullpen depth.
Yeah, they're probably going to also call up Baltimore and ask for Cedric Mullins because they need a center fielder
Yeah.
desperate. Brandon Marsh. I mean, say what you want. That trade has been an epic failure for the team because Logan O'Hoppe is who they gave up for him. And look, hindsight is always 2020, but the way that JT Realmuto is looking behind the dish and the way that Logan O'Hoppe is looking in Anaheim, when Logan O'Hoppe was in the Phillies organization, the thought was, okay, he's going to take over for Realmuto, maybe make JT Realmuto an everyday DH. And now you see the success of Hoppe and the downfall of Brandon Marsh, who honestly really hasn't been that great during his Phillies tenure, and definitely not worth a top prospect like O'Hoppe, but they'll have some questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. Lastly, we could talk about is the Boston Red Sox finally made a move and to call up one of their, top prospects. They still haven't called up Roman Anthony, but they did call up Marcelo Meyer, and that's a huge thing for this Red Sox organization with Alex Bregman going to uh the injured list and everyone like everyone wondering, okay, we need to make sure like Devers isn't playing in the field at all. Like this really seems like
God,
you are the strict DH and you're cooked there. Like you are not leaving that DH spot, but he has been producing, 47 RBIs, leading the majors in RBIs, leading the American League in walks. He, Rafael Devers is still an amazing hitter. It's just the defense that was ruining him. But yeah, like everything's looked like the thing about the Red Sox is yes, they're calling up their prospects. They've had one of the easiest strength of schedules to start this year, and they're a 500 ball club.
yeah.
Like it's I think it was something that like they had one of the they had one of the easiest stretches to begin the season.
Mhm.
And their remaining strength of schedule is 27th out of 30th in teams in baseball. Like they have one of the hardest schedules to follow the remainder of this year. And they're really gonna have to go through it now without a lot of the like I don't know, it's just a lot of questions for this Red Sox team coming up.
Yeah, I would pay to see Alex Cora have that conversation with Devers. Like, hey, you want to go play third base again? Or it's like the two positions. We said first base was the position you didn't want to get hurt because then that's where the Devers conversation comes back up again. But now Bregman hurt, and they're saying for a very long time, like this isn't just a like they put him on the 10-day IL, but it's not a 10-day IL according to Cora. Like this could be maybe a 60-day IL. Like depends. We'll see what happens. But I, you look at the Red Sox and yeah, like they've had an easy schedule and they shouldn't like this shouldn't be their record if they want to be a playoff team. And they gave up a lot of capital and then invested a lot in Garrett Crochet and you just look at it. Again, like at the beginning of the year, I still wasn't a fan of their starting pitching. Like I don't think that I thought this year might have been their year just because of how weak I viewed the AL East, and I thought anyone really has a puncher's chance in that division. But look, I do think they're maybe one more year away, a couple more pitching pieces away. Like yeah, they have Giolito, who's been okay. Brian Bayo has, ugh, I mean, he's really fallen off a cliff ever since he got that contract extension. Bueller got the qualifying offer basically, but how much as a Dodgers fan, like he's just there's going to be blow ups. I don't view the starting rotation as great, but their young pieces like Wilyer Abreu, who they got for Christian Vasquez. I mean, he's been phenomenal this year, batting 262. And I mean, what an addition he's been ever since coming over to Boston. Christian Campbell has been decent. This last month has not been great for him, but he's only 22 years old. That's why I view next year as like, okay, you really got to pounce on it, got to get some pieces. But I just thought this year was their year because Garrett Cole's out for the Yankees, but Max Fried is Sandy Koufax. Great. And you look at it and you just look at this Red Sox team, like what can Marcelo Meyer do? And obviously he goes 0 for in his first game,
Yeah.
wasn't able to go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, but they're going to need to fill a huge hole in their lineup, which was Alex Bregman, who had 11 home runs, 34 RBIs, was basically batting 300. When have we ever said that about Alex Bregman? With a 938 OPS, another great Jew. But you look at this Red Sox team and like they have a lot of young pieces. And if you want to throw Crochet in there as a fairly young piece, they have what it takes. And these guys have been able to step up at times, but now they're going to have to put it into another gear.
I mean, uh, yeah, like this entire Red Sox team is really in for it now in the long haul stretch with one of the t toughest records in baseball. And I just want to bring up something that I thought was funny, what you said, the Walker Buehler blowups. I mean, not just even the pitching performances, even or just on the mound having a blow up. That ejection was so electric. That's right down the middle. F you, like that's
It wasn't
crazy.
right.
It was down the middle, like it was a strike. I hate that call of, oh, the catcher got up out of his stance to throw a runner out, so I'm not gonna call it a ball. What do you mean? Like it's still down the like I don't know. I hate when umps do that where it's a clear strike and then they make the call as if, oh, well the catcher got up. I don't get it. But Walker Bueller first start off the IL and he makes that he's right down the middle. F you. That's insane. That's aura. That is insane aura. Um, but yeah, like you said, this starting rotation for the Red Sox is a real big question mark. I saw like Tanner Houck's on the IL. He looked awful this season. I mean, I saw someone on Red Sox Twitter comparing him to Alek Manoah. Hey, at least Alek Manoah finished top three in Cy Young voting and then had his blow up. Tanner Houck was just an all-star for the first time last year, and he wasn't even that great last year either. I mean, the difference is that like he was never been a strikeout pitcher, Tanner Houck, and he's never really been healthy, never really been that great. But now you see with everything since then, they really needed someone other than Garrett Crochet to really be a dominant force in their rotation. And they were thinking, oh, Lucas Giolito come back. Lucas Giolito hasn't pitched in 2 years. I mean, like, what's with the Red Sox bullpen or Red Sox pitching rotation and guys who haven't pitched in 2 years? Liam Hendricks hasn't pitched in that's for a different reason, but Liam Hendricks hasn't pitched for a long time. They had Lucas Giolito. Brian Bayo missed a lot of time last year. They just have a lot of these guys where it's like you have a lot of these injury prone um, guys that aren't really that good at the top of their rotation. Tanner Howe is it like is was getting shelled in the major leagues. Brian Bale was getting shelled his first couple starts, and even last year he didn't look good at all either. And it's just one of those things where it's like, what do they do come postseason time if they're even there, if they're even in the conversation, other than Garrett Crochet? Do they do a Tigers approach of let's just like bullpen game it, but they don't even have that strong of a bullpen to do.
Yeah, they have
Uh,
more bullpens in baseball.
yeah, it's just like what do they do when it come when the going gets rough? It's literally just Garrett Crochet out there, and what else? Like you can't do anything else at this point.
Mhm. Yeah, no, they're gonna have to figure it out. And look, they have a lot of young, talented prospects, but like again, they're prospects. Like you can only imagine and assume what they're going to do at the major league level. But for Boston, like this is a team where it's kind of like they missed out on Max Fried, they missed out on Blake Snell, and they kind of like quote unquote had to settle for Walker Bueller, and then they had to trade a pretty penny, to get Garrett Crochet. And even now, it's just I don't really know. And like to your point, like one of the easiest schedules in baseball, and they've had a lot of blown saves, a lot of blown leads late in games where like they got to win these games, especially with the way that other teams in the American League in general are trending. Like the AL Central, we used to say was the laughing stock division, but they might have all three wild card teams potentially. I mean, you look at it and maybe the AL West, you got the Astros, but that's also been a really streaky division as well. Like the Red Sox still can make the playoffs. It's just I think they gotta call some teams and they gotta move some more prospects around to get better starting pitching.
Yeah, and I mean it's just it doesn't look good for them right now. They have a lot of questions where it comes to, somebody like Trevor Story as well. He had such a strong start to the season. He's leading the American League in strikeouts right now. He has 9 walks to 62 strikeouts, a 69 OPS plus, and that's not nice. He just hasn't looked good in the last like month. He just has been on this super cold streak. And it's one of those things where what do the Red Sox do? Like you talk about with all these prospects, they got to make moves, but at what point are they just like, listen, we've had one of the easiest strengths of schedule to start this year, and we're 500. They should not be 500. They should be leading the division right now. But anyways, that's just going to do it for this episode of Breaking News Bears. Once again, I want to thank my co-host Amadeus. I once again want to thank you guys, the listeners. You know, we're going to be going into June very soon. It's almost June, FTC. Um, but the baseball season's still going to be going. Make sure to be locked in on Breaking News Bears.